Good morning, everyone. Oh, good. I see so many of you who are getting on. This is beautiful. I made sure that we are sharing over to YouTube as well. So welcome, welcome. Guys, just so you know, down at the bottom, there is a chat box. I see Lorna and Renee and Fur. I'm so glad you guys are here. Do me a favor, and on that chat box, the automatic setting is going to be all panelists, and that's coming just to me. But my dear Kate is here with me, and she's going to be helping to keep track of all of your questions while I'm teaching today. So make sure that you set that drop-down menu to say all panelists and attendees. That'll give you guys the opportunity to chat amongst yourselves and also allow Kate to see your comments and questions and pass them along to me, because once I start sharing my screen and share our slides for today, I won't be able to see you guys. And I want to make sure that she can see and that I get all your questions, because it's very important to me. So with that, as we're going along today, welcome from Argentina. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Go ahead and drop in there where you guys are. At any point during today's presentation, feel free to ask questions. If your question kind of fits with right where I'm at, I will answer it right that moment. If it's going to fit with where I will be later in the presentation, I will answer it when I get there. All right. South Carolina, Maine, Virginia, Texas. Oh, guys, y'all are like from all these places that I'm like, can I just like go on a road trip? San Diego. Oh, I love San Diego so much. Oh my goodness, Barbara. I was supposed to go to San Diego in December for an event, and it went virtual yesterday. And I'm sad about it. I'm not going to lie. So thrilled to see you guys. I'm so glad you guys are here. If you are new to String and Story, my name is Holly Ann Knight. It is my job to guide you to quilt with confidence. And today we're going to talk about finding your free motion quilting secret sauce. Now, I'm going to give everyone just a couple more minutes to jump on. So keep dropping in those comments where you're from. Michigan, Canada, Malaysia, Wyoming, Florida. I love it. I love it. I love it. So many people and states and countries. I love it. Splendid. Oh, I'm so excited. This is so great. All right, let me make sure I've got this document set up. We've got a few more minutes. Then I'm going to make sure that I let everyone have an opportunity to get on. Laura, I see you raised your hand. Do you have a question, babe? You may have just accidentally hit it. I don't know. I'm just checking. All right, let's see. Close. Brilliant. Okay, you're fine. I just wanted to make sure. Tucson, Arizona, where you're dry roasting. It is so hot out there, guys. It has cooled off here this week, finally. I'm in Georgia, for those of you who don't know. So southern United States. Outside of Atlanta, it has been very, very warm. But we've had a lot of rain with the tropical storms that are coming up, and it's cooled off pretty nicely. We may go on a little local hike this afternoon to take advantage of it not being quite so warm. Renee, welcome to Free Motion Quilting Academy. Brilliant. Oh, we'll be talking about Free Motion Quilting Academy at the end of our time to get together today, and I'm very excited about it. All right. Yay, yay, yay. Central Missouri, Kentucky. I see all you guys. Welcome, welcome. There's so many of you. I'm so thrilled that you're hopping on live with me. This is going to be so much fun. There will be a replay, but it's more fun to be live. You should be able to have chat and video on the screen together, Gail. Yeah. So I don't know. Well, it depends on your device. If you're on a computer, you should be able to. If you are on a small device, it's going to be harder. Yeah, that'll be trickier. You may have to toggle back and forth a little bit. But if you can jump on a laptop, like right now, I can see the screen and then the chat on the side. Yep. Brilliant. Yeah, you just can't be full screen as well. There's Kate right there. Kate, yours is still set to all panelists. Go ahead and do all panelists and attendees, babe, if you've not done that already. All right, so everyone who is hopping on, we are right at the top of the hour here, so welcome. If you have hopped on in the last few minutes, do make sure that your chat box is set to all panelists and attendees. My dear Kate Tony, some of you guys can already see her there in the chat. She's going to be passing your questions along to me via Google Doc, because once I go full screen to share my slides with you guys, I won't be able to see the chat. Okay, so I want to make sure that I answer all your questions. Please feel free to ask questions at any time during this presentation, and I will answer them like where it makes the most sense. Okay, I'm so excited. We're going to be talking about quilting plans, finding your free motion quilting secret sauce, and then I'm going to introduce you to my program, Free Motion Quilting Academy. Oh, guys, it's so exciting. All right, are we ready? It's still not technically 11, but I'm going to go ahead and put us into slides because it will take me a minute to get there. Let's see. Here we go. I think Is this where I want to be? Oh, I'm in the, hold please, guys. Nope, not there. Not there. Well, I need to make sure that I have the right slide up. Okay, here we go. Now we should be good. And nope. Technical difficulties, guys. It always happens. Hello, hello. I see all you guys hopping on. All right, brilliant. Let's try this again, shall we? Here we go. And I'm going to bring me down here. Welcome, welcome. Okay, everybody, let's get started in earnest. We are right here at the top of the hour. I'm so thrilled to have so many states and countries represented with us today. Again, welcome to your free motion quilting secret sauce. My name is Holly, a Knight of String and Story, and it's my job to guide you to quilt with confidence. Today, we're going to talk about the 3 must-have ingredients to free motion quilt with confidence, and then I'm going to introduce you to my digital course, Free Motion Quilting Academy, where you can become a confident intermediate free motion quilting rock star. All right, let's get started with this today. Inside today's masterclass, I'm going to show you how you can confidently begin your journey as a free motion quilter and find your style by compiling 3 key ingredients to make your secret sauce. By the end of our time together, you're going to be excited to grow as a quilter and know how to take the next steps to become a free motion quilting rock star. Guys, I am beyond excited about our time together today. First, allow me to introduce myself. As I mentioned, my name is Holly, a Knight of String and Story. I am in my 20s. I've been quilting for about 5 years now, and I'm incredibly passionate about free motion quilting. It is my calling, it is my passion, it is my drive to make free motion quilting accessible to y'all, because free motion quilting is this thing that we put up on a pedestal, and we're like, it's big and it's scary, but in fact, it's not. Right? It's just, that's something we have culturally contrived to be afraid of free motion quilting. And I'm here to make it accessible. I'm here to make it fun. And I'm incredibly excited to begin sharing a little bit about that with you today. This is my family. Over on the far left, you'll see John, more commonly known as Hubster around here. And next to him, Ian. And then on the far right is Jim. Jim is 5.5. Ian is 4.5. And in addition to these 2 little rascals, we also have 2 cats, a puppy, and 2 very large fish tanks. So there's a lot going on at our house at any given time. Now, guys, I'm really excited to be here, and I really believe that what I have to share with you today can change the trajectory of your relationship with free motion quilting to get you excited to finish your own quilts. So I'm going to invite you, as challenging as it is, to go ahead and turn off all distractions, right? I am a multitasker. If you've been around String and Story for a hot second, you know that I love to be talking and quilting and checking comments and drinking coffee and doing all the things. And admittedly, you are going to see me drinking coffee because it's Saturday morning, y'all. We're drinking coffee. But I want to invite you to turn off all distractions and really focus with me for the next hour, because I'm so excited about this time together and I want it to be meaningful for you as well. All right. You are in the right place this morning. If you feel excited to quilt your own quilts, but you're scared you'll never be good enough. You are in the right place this morning if you want to learn free motion quilting, but getting started feels overwhelming. What notions do I need? Do I have to be artistic? Do I need the big fancy machine, right? You're in the right place if you know you have creativity and you have the desire to quilt for others or for shows, but you're just not sure what motifs to learn, what to quilt where, right? You know you're the artistic one, but you need a roadmap. You need to know where to get started and how to apply this to actual for realsies quilts. So right here out of the gates, guys, make sure that your chat is set to all panelists and attendees, and tell me in the comments which one of these resonates with you the most. What about learning free motion quilting feels big to you and brought you to this masterclass here today in the hopes of finding some answers and some resolution? All right, go ahead and drop that in the comments. Kate's going to pass it over to me. I want to kind of know where you guys are at. To be perfectly honest, when I got started, like all of these were true. So that's a valid answer. I'm seeing some real creativity in here. A lot of 3s, some 2s, a couple of 1s. Brilliant, guys. This is wonderful. You are in exactly the right place. And I have a great roadmap for you guys today. Afraid to ruin the quilt. Okay, let's talk for a second about ruining the quilt. All right, I'm going to come in real close. We're going to have a family moment. That's very normal and very natural. It's my job as your teacher to show you how to build your skills and your confidence before you touch your precious quilt. Okay. And I'm going to show you how to do that because we all have that fear. And I want to set you free from the oppressiveness of that, right? Because you have put so much time and work and love and money, right, with your fabric into that quilt top. And I'm going to show you how to feel confident and ready by the time you put a needle through that fabric. All right. No idea what motifs match the quilt. Pin basting is hard. All the things, girls. Yes. All of y'all, ladies, you are in the right place. So let's talk about kind of the first part of this, and that's making a quilting plan. All right. Before we get to that, one last step. I want you to dream with me. I want you to take all those fears. I want you to put them in a bucket, and I want you to set them over here. All right. Fears are hard to get rid of. I'm not going to ask you to totally throw them out right now because emotionally that's a big deal, right? But set them to the side, and I want you to dream with me. Imagine these are your hands. What are you quilting? What motif are you quilting? What project are you working on? Who is it for? Right? Set all those fears aside for a second and picture that quilt. Maybe that quilt top is sitting in your sewing room right now. And as soon as you finished it, you knew what you wanted to look like. You had a dream, even just for a piece of it. You know you want feathers in the borders, right? You know you want wishbones in the sashing. Maybe there's some piece of it that you can see with absolute clarity, and you would love to have the joy and satisfaction of doing it yourself. But that just feels this big. All right. Do you remember when we were all like 8 years old, right? And you're on the playground and it just felt totally possible that you could grow up someday to be a princess living in a castle, right? Have that kind of dream for a second, right? Dream free motion quilting at that level. And I want you to put that in a second bucket, but keep that bucket right in front of you as we keep going. All right. We are here to replace all of these negative emotions, bucket number 1, of fear, overwhelm, and uncertainty with positive emotions, bucket number 2, of anticipation, excitement, and confidence to make that free motion quilting dream come true. Are you guys ready? Let's do it. All right. Ingredient number 1, make a plan. Now, full disclosure, this is less of an ingredient and more of a sauce pot, right? Like we got to have something to put these ingredients in. So, allow me some grace on the semantics here, but get your cooking pot. I have all the analogies today, so buckle up. A quilting plan is your roadmap so you can focus on your stitching without worrying about what to quilt wear, right? Some of y'all just told me in the comments that you're like, I don't know what to quilt wear. We separate the decision-making from the actual quilting with a quilting plan. All right, let's talk about that. Quilting plans happen on paper. They do not happen on our quilt. Do you know why? Because sometimes we change our minds. Sometimes we have what we think is a brilliant idea. I am absolutely putting feathers in these borders. And then we get to our quilting plan and we draw the feathers and we go, what? Not doing that, right? But it's horrifying if we do that on our quilt, right? That we get it all quilted and then go, I do not in fact like it. So we do quilting plans on paper. This takes a lot of pressure off. It allows us to make options. Guys, this is the same quilt. I know that's hard to tell because I drew the latter one on a black and white version instead of on the multicolored version. Please note the part on the multicolored version where I just realized I forgot to draw part of the quilting plan. But this is the same quilt. These are radically different quilting plans. This is the beauty of working this out on paper first, that we can have different iterations and pick our favorite and go from there. And sometimes what'll even happen, I don't know if Sue's here with me today, but Sue was here yesterday and she was like, I still sometimes change my mind halfway through. And I'm like, that fits this roadmap analogy because, the best way to do a road trip, right, is that you've got it all planned out. You're like, all right, our road trip this last summer, we're going to fly into Salt Lake City. We are going to drive north up into Idaho. From our home base of an Airbnb in Idaho, we're going to drive into Yellowstone. We're going to drive into the Grand Tetons. It's going to be great. But do you know what also is part of a road trip? When you're going along and you see that sign and it says quilt shop next left. What do? Right? We go off map, right? So a quilting plan is the same way, that we're going to have like the key ideas already decided, but we give ourselves the creative license to take a hard left if there's a sign for a quilt shop. If you get halfway in and you're like, visual decisions, visually, I'm going to tweak this. This is not set in stone, but it sets you free from the anxiety of going, oh my gosh, I've got this beautiful quilt under my needle. And what if I wreck it, right? We're going to make these decisions on our paper first. So when we're making a quilting plan, we're going to ask questions like, who or what is this quilt for? How much time do I want to spend quilting this quilt? How is this quilt going to be used? And these are questions that are going to inform our decisions for the next two ingredients we're about to talk about, right? Because they're going to inform, how much effort and energy are we willing to put into this? How much thread are we going to put into this thing? How long are we willing to wrestle it under our sewing machines before we're just going to be tired of the whole thing, right? Is this a quilt that's going to go on the couch where the kids and dogs are going to put their muddy feet on it? Or is this a quilt that's going to go on, the master bed where we're going to see it all the time, but it's going to be a little bit more gently used? Is this a wall hanging? Am I submitting this to a show, et cetera, et cetera? Right? So those are going to be your big overarching questions as you're choosing your sauce. But this is the am I heating up leftover marinara for one? Am I making, a big pot of sauce because I've got a bumper crop of tomatoes from my garden and this is going to be all our tomato sauce for the entire winter and I need, the big canning pot, right? This is that kind of situation, right? So we're asking these big questions to help select this pot, our first ingredient, if you will. All right. Let me tell you about Barbara, right? Because I'm telling you that these whole quilting plans are going to set you free. And you might be sitting there going, really? Let me tell you about Barbara. Barbara is a free motion quilting rock star. She's gone through Free Motion Quilting Academy and graduated. And this was her first quilting plan. 6 motifs mean that this is a custom quilting plan. Fancy, right? And something that might feel overwhelming, but because Barbara has drawn herself a map, she can confidently move forward, adding these really special motifs to an actual real traditional quilt. And note her comment, my first quilting plan, I can't wait to do a real quilt. Because Barbara took the time to draw this out, she no longer feels anxious about putting her quilt under the needle. Instead, she's excited because she knows what motifs are going to go where. And as she's been drawing them, she's taken the time to think through, how am I going to transition from section to section on this quilt? All right. So we've chosen our sauce pot. We've asked these big overarching questions. Let's put some stuff in the pot. Ingredient number 2, embrace your density. Or your spice level would maybe be a little bit more accurate. So density in terms of how dense is your quilting, right? Do you like an all over design or are you going to quilt this puppy to death? All right. First up, sweet and simple. This is for those who are lovers of all over designs. This is my quilt perfect fit. It's a little bit of an optical illusion quilt. And so I used a square spiral all over motif on it. It quilted up so fast. And I'm so glad that I ended up using an all over motif because what I didn't realize at the time, because I wasn't thinking through all those questions the way I just taught you to, is that this was very much going to end up being a favorite couch quilt in my house, which also means it has doubled as a doormat because I have 4- and 5-year-old boys and a puppy. Okay. Now I'm not proud of the fact that Money Feet have walked across my quilt, but it's also real life, right? And I want to acknowledge that there is a time and a place for keeping our quilting simple because it's a quilt that's going to do real life with us. All right. This is like the classic marinara of quilting plans. Okay. Now you may want to add some seasoning. Maybe you're a garlic marinara girl, right? And this is either going to be semi-custom quilting plans. So something that's using 2 or 3 motifs, or maybe it's a really simple quilting plan like this one, but with fancy motifs. All right, so this is Aldebaran, and there are only 2 things happening on this quilt. And some of y'all look at it going, I see more than 2 things, but let me explain. There is stitch in the ditch around those pieced stripes of the bottom triangle, and then the rest is graffiti quilting, right? I'm gonna be real honest. I don't think I even drew my quilting plan for this, which is not what I recommend, but it truly is a simple quilting plan. I just chose a really complicated motif. So like I said, the garlic marinara of quilting plans. And finally, we have like the people who want spicy sauce, right? You want something fancy or it's a fancy roux. Like I'm using hot peppers as the analogy here because I just feel like these fully custom plans are spicy, spicy, spicy. Now I'm going to be honest. I am a hot peppers girl. All right. I am all for the fancier, the better. More is more when it comes to my quilting. But here's the thing. You may not be, right? And I told you at the top of the hour that at the end of our time together, I'm going to be talking about Free Motion Quilting Academy. And I want you, if you decide to jump into that course with me, there's something I want to make real clear right now. You do not have to be a hot peppers girl to succeed in Free Motion Quilting Academy. All right. I'm a hot peppers girl. That means I'm going to teach you lots and lots of motifs. It means I'm going to show you how to do this, but it also means you're going to have lots and lots of motifs in your toolbox that you could use as all over designs if you are a simple marinara girl. It also means you'll have lots of things you can mix and match if you're a garlic marinara girl. All right, so here's the pressing question. You know, the reality is you're likely going to finish quilts with all 3 of these styles, but one will probably be your go-to. And knowing what your go-to is, right? Knowing that I'm a hot peppers girl, I know when I sit down to make a quilting plan, we are pulling out all the things. We are getting fancy. We are spinning that spice rack and dumping stuff into this pot, right? And so that I just know that. But if you know that you are an all over kind of girl, then you know, I really just need one real good motif for this quilt, okay? Knowing your go-to scenario is going to make it easier to make that quilting plan and get these quilts finished. So which is going to be your go-to style, right? Answer in the comments for me. Which one stood out? Or do you love just a simple all over design, but you want to be able to do it yourself? You don't want to have to send it out to the long armor and wait for it to come back and pay all that money, right? Are you a semi-custom girl? Are you like a garlic marinara girl that you're like, I want a little bit of something special, but I don't necessarily want it to take over my life, right? Or are you like me that you're like, spicy hot peppers, please. I want all the things. And here's one more plot twist for you. I want you to answer this question, not based on your fear of what you think is possible or impossible, but based on what makes your heart go pitter patter when you see it at a quilt show. All right. What do you just wish you could like grab and squish your face into? Like what quilting plans do that? Some simple, some garlic marinara that add some seasoning, all the above, depending on the quilt. I love that. Love to get more creative. Yes. And here's the thing. If you're like, I want to be more creative with this, but I'm nervous about it right now, learning more motifs will help. Practicing drawing more quilting plans will help. These are skills. I cannot emphasize to you enough how much everything with free motion quilting is a skill. None of this is raw talent, babes. Okay. There may be a lot of things in life that are raw talent, but this is much more like handwriting than painting. And honestly, even painting is more skill-based than people think, but that's a whole nother conversation, right? These are skills we can build on. Full custom, all caps, exclamation point. I am here for it. Like to add some interest where needed. You want to move beyond stitch in the ditch? Yes. I want you to move beyond stitch in the ditch because here's the thing. A well-planned and well-executed quilting plan is going to add to your beautiful piecing, not take away from it, right? I want you to add this level of pizzazz. Yeah. Okay, so this is such a great question. My quilts are meant to be used, so it's hard to justify much hot pepper work. Okay, this is a great point, and I want to talk about it for a second because my quilts also are used a lot, like a lot, but I'm also a hot peppers girl. How do I balance that? Okay, couple of things. One, once I quilted enough quilts, I wasn't so emotionally attached to the quilting because I knew I could do it again, right? So practice helped with that. The other thing is I enjoy the process of the hot pepper quilting, right? And so if I get joy out of the process, then I'm not so worried about whether or not it might get messed up because my kids are going to run across it with their muddy feet, right? There are also, just like that perfect fit quilt I showed you is sitting on my couch and has been used as a doormat. There are some really custom quilts that are living down there on that couch that the same thing has happened to. And it's okay because I got my joy from the quilting, right? The other secret, right, is I'm a huge fan of using all cotton thread and natural fiber battings. So wool, silk, cotton battings, because then I can heavily quilt those quilts and they are still very, very soft because it's all cotton, right? Quilts get stiff when we use poly thread, when we have poly in our batting, because that's essentially plastic and it mats together. It doesn't hold air and hold loft the same way that natural fibers do, right? So again, it is up to you if it's worth that time, and just weigh those things. But I want you to consider the possibility that maybe just the joy of doing it makes it worth it, even if you know it might get messed up later. Yeah, Lynn, that's a great question. And I have no idea how many quilts I've made because it's a lot. It's a lot. There are, let me do a quick head count. There are at least 25 in my house right now. I lost track of how many I made for charity. I've sold a lot of quilts. It's a lot of quilts. It's a lot of quilts, Lynn. Great question. I know I'm also thinking about all the tops I have sitting over here, and I made like 8 tops this summer. So I got lots of quilting to do. One of y'all said, I like hot pepper quilting, but don't like when the density makes the quilt feel stiff. Absolutely. And that's, like I said, that's why I love using cotton and other natural fibers, because it keeps that quilting nice and soft. Run that puppy through the washing machine. It is nice and squishy. Yeah, I love it. Great questions, you guys. All right, ingredient number 3. We have talked about needing to make a quilting plan. We've chosen our sauce pot, right? We have talked about the density of our quilting. Well, once you have the density, like how do you make up that quilting plan, right? We need to chop some things up and pull some spices out and put them in this pot. And that is going to be all about knowing your favorite motifs. You don't actually need all the free motion quilting motifs. Not really. Now, I like having all the free motion quilting motifs. That's why Free Motion Quilting Academy teaches 30 different motifs, right? Because I want you to be able to choose your favorites, right? Of the 30 motifs that I teach, cohort after cohort, they're not all my favorites, but sometimes ones that are not my favorites might become your favorites. And I want you to have a full toolbox, right? Did y'all, maybe your husband, maybe your dad, maybe you, had those multi-layer toolboxes? I had a toolbox when I was growing up because I did a lot of work with my dad. And it had 3 layers, right? There was the big bottom layer, and then there was the middle shelf, and then there was the top shelf, right? And you always kept your most frequently used tools on that top shelf, right? Your hammer, your flathead screwdriver, your Phillips head screwdriver, a measuring tape, a pencil, right? There's always that like handful of things that you're constantly reaching for that lives on the top shelf of the toolbox, right? And that's what I want to show you guys as we're walking through this idea of choosing your favorite motifs, but also the way that I teach Free Motion Quilting Academy is I give you a full toolbox, but you get to pick which tools live at the top, right? For example, here are 10 of my go-to free motion quilting motifs. Now, admittedly, feathers and wishbones are not on here, which are also ones I frequently reach for. But out of the 30 motifs that I often teach, these are the 10 that tend to kind of rise to the surface. You will probably find at least one of these motifs on every quilt that I quilt, right? Because they're my favorites. And because I so often quilt semi-custom or fully custom quilting plans, you're usually going to find a solid representation of these guys on my quilts, right? You will develop your own collection the same way. And that's really important. So like I said, I'm in support of learning more motifs, but don't ever feel bad that you've got your favorites that kind of rise to the surface. That's just like we each have our favorite types of food we like to cook, our favorite fruits and veggies we like to eat. It is normal in life to have preferences, and it's also normal for our preferences to be different from each other, right? So when you're making the quilting plan we've been talking about, these favorites will probably be your place to start, right? You'll find the ones that are most easily, that you quilt the most easily, that come to you the most easily, and you'll be using them over and over again. So let me give you an example of this with Alicia. Again, Alicia has gone through Free Motion Quilting Academy. She has graduated from the course, and this was her final project. So the last thing I ask all of my students to do inside Free Motion Quilting Academy is to make a fat quarter size whole cloth quilt of their own design. And I love what she said here. She said, my final project is done. I'm getting a few UFOs sandwiched so I can start using my favorite motifs. And can you see how Alicia obviously loves smoky swirls and feathers, the way they showed up in her final project? They're a key element of her style, and they will likely be key starting places for her quilting plans going forward, right? She will look at a quilt, and probably the first thing she'll think of is where smoky swirls are going to go or where feathers are going to go. Right? Like I frequently look at a quilt and I'm immediately going, where are my paisleys going? Where are my wishbones going? Right? Because those are favorites to quilt. They're favorites to look at. All right. Now we've talked about making this secret sauce. We got our sauce pot. We chose some spices. We have now chopped up some ingredients of favorite quilting motifs and added these to the pot, right? These are things that are going to make your style your own, and it'll be different from every other quilter, just like your handwriting is different from every other person. So I want you to remember that quilt dream that we had at the beginning of our time together. And remember why you came. Maybe you came because you're excited to quilt your own quilts, but you're scared you'll never be good enough. Maybe you came to learn free motion quilting, but you're overwhelmed about how to get started. Or you came because you have the creativity and the desire to quilt for others and for shows, but you're going, I know I need to put ingredients in this sauce pot, but like, which ones do I put in? Where do I learn them? Is there an order I should learn them in? All right. And by now, I hope you see that there are answers to all three of these roadblocks found in these simple ingredients, right? The answer to the overwhelm, to the questions, to the how do I get started is you start on paper. You start with a quilting plan. You identify your go-to style, your go-to density, and you have those favorite motifs. And you might be thinking, that's great, Holly Ann, but where the heck do I learn the motifs? Like, how do I get started, like, moving from paper to putting it on fabric? And there are two ways, basically. The first is the way that I learned. You can take to the Googles and you can Google different motifs and you can be on YouTube. Some of you are watching me on YouTube right now. You can continue fishing around YouTube to try out quilting motifs and ideas. And guys, like, you'll get there. I did, but gosh, it took forever and things were hard. And I honestly ended up taking my machine into the shop way more often than I needed to because I didn't understand foundational basics about how my machine works and how to set my tension, right? Now, your second option is to continue learning with me, and I would be so delighted to be your teacher. And you can join me as I show you a proven path taken by hundreds of rock stars before you to make your free motion quilting dream come true. And to that end, I would love to invite you to Free Motion Quilting Academy. Guys, I told you at the top of our time together that after we talked about quilting plans and making the secret sauce, that I wanted to tell you about the Academy, because this is a proven method to learn free motion quilting from the comfort of your own home. Inside Free Motion Quilting Academy, you'll have specific guided step-by-step instructions and an outline for going from a quilt top to a complete and beautiful quilt, including learning how to decide what to quilt where and how to execute it. And guys, you'll move from being a nervous beginner free motion quilter to a confident intermediate free motion quilter in just our 12 weeks together. In the end, your free motion quilting will come true as your confidence and your skills grow, and you'll be capable of planning and executing any design on any quilt. So let me introduce you to Deb. Deb is one of my rock stars who graduated this summer. Look at this beautiful final project. She made a final project titled Transformation because she felt this transformation within herself. And Deb says, one of the biggest challenges I've had in sewing is free motion quilting. I would see people move their quilts under the needle with such ease and precision, and I knew I wanted to feel that same sense of accomplishment, but it never happened until Free Motion Quilting Academy. Holly Ann's presentation added a sensibility I could relate to. The formatting of the class was easy, and she was always there with a healthy dose of, you can do this, rock star. I loved having access to the lessons anytime, and I've learned to love doodling. I've even been able to complete a few small projects before graduating because my practice motifs gave me the confidence to try and the proof that I could do it. Thank you, Holly Ann. Because of Free Motion Quilting Academy, I know that I will continue this quilting journey and be equipped to finish the quilts that I start. And guys, Deb has continued to finish her quilts as we've been going along, and it's absolutely amazing to watch her grow as a quilter. So Free Motion Quilting Academy, as I mentioned, allows you to learn free motion quilting from the privacy and the comfort of your own home. It encourages you to start with what you have, keeping supplies minimal and affordable rather than urging you to buy a bigger, fancier machine. It is ready when you are, regardless of geography or time zone, with on-demand pre-recorded video lessons, and it offers you ongoing access to the instructor, yours truly, so that you never really feel alone or stuck, and you can get near real-time help during live stream Q&A sessions. And guys, if you have questions outside the Q&A sessions, you'll also be connected to other rock stars in training around the world via the private Facebook group. And there's so much encouragement and advice giving happening in that group all the time. So even if you're across the world from me and I'm asleep and you're awake and you have a question, there's going to be someone in that group who can help. Oh, Roberta has a great question about quilting plans. Let me answer this real quick. She says, do you take a picture of your quilt, use EQ Design or graph paper when planning your quilting? So I will either use graph paper or I will print out the cover image from the pattern. And if you're working from one of my patterns, I always include an outline version of the quilt, like the one you saw of Lanterns of Hope at the top, for this very purpose. It allows you to help choose your colors, and it helps you to make your quilting plan as well. Great question. Absolutely. Let me introduce you to another rock star. This is Denise, and she graduated from Free Motion Quilting Academy last year. Free Motion Quilting Academy was a fabulous experience. Holly Ann truly instills confidence in her students to try new motifs, building on previously learned skills. I could see my free motion quilting skills grow every week, and I highly recommend it. For the cost of sending a quilt to the Long Armor, I now feel confident to quilt all my quilts myself. Holly Ann has an infectious, energetic personality and has built a safe, supportive community of quilters. The support of fellow cohort students is a big plus. So what does the Free Motion Quilting Academy include? You get 7 pre-recorded video modules teaching you all the ins and outs of free motion quilting from setup to how to stitch 30 motifs, including, guys, this is so exciting, a brand new 45-page course workbook. I have been asked to make this workbook for several years now, and it is finally here, and you guys get to be the first cohort to have it as you're going through the course. Access to the exclusive Facebook group for 12 weeks of live video Q&As, as well as ongoing support from me and your fellow rock stars, and you get lifetime access to all of the above. This has a huge value on it, but I know that this is not accessible as a cost of tuition, right? So the cost of tuition is going to be much more affordable. I also want you to know that there is a 15-day money-back guarantee, that if you get in and you start doing the work and you go, this is not for me, then within 15 days of enrolling, you can receive a refund. Guys, for $175, the early bird price of enrollment for this course, you get those 7 pre-recorded video modules showing you the 30 motifs, the bonus module about how to make quilting plans. We deep dive further than we did today, a 45-page course workbook, and access to the exclusive Facebook group with those live Q&As, okay? So guys, here's the deal. This is the early bird price. Tomorrow is the last day to get early bird tuition for the fall 2020 cohort of Free Motion Quilting Academy. There are already over 150 rock stars who have jumped into this cohort. It is going to be absolute magic. I'm so excited. And here's the deal. We are in the middle of a pandemic, all right? And that means a couple of things. On the one hand, I know that means for many of us, money is tight. That's why I've sought to make this as accessible as possible. It also means that more than ever, it's important to have the skills to finish your own quilts. We're spending a lot of time at home. We're away from friends and family. And what better time to develop the skills to finish our own quilts, to give to our friends and family than right now? Right? And if we're going to be home through the fall, what better time to finally say, I'm going to learn free motion quilting, right? Some of you guys have been around String and Story for a minute, and you declared back at the beginning of the year that you wanted to learn free motion quilting, but guys, it's the end of August and it hasn't happened yet. And 2020 has been hard, right? There's a pandemic. There's fires in California right now. There's freaking murder hornets. We have elections here in the US. There's a lot going on. Isn't this the time, if there ever was one, to find a bright spot, to find some joy, to learn a new skill, to make new friends, to finally accomplish this thing that maybe you've been aspiring to for a while, but keep pushing to the back burner? Isn't it time to find 15, 20, 30 minutes a day to develop this and to grow and to have the community to do it together? Personally, I think yes. I think it's worth looking 2020 in the eye and go, you can take a lot of things from me, but you are not taking my joy. And I'm going to find the joy and the energy and the delight to pursue this thing. And there will be beauty in this year. And I will get to the end of 2020 and I will feel accomplishment because I learned free motion quilting. Whatever else happened, right? I made this investment in something that I love and made this investment in my skills to be able to bless the people around me with free motion quilted quilts, right? Guys, we had the Free Motion Quilting Launchpad inside the Quilting Rockstars Facebook group this week. There were 2,800 folks who signed up for that. And we had the most amazing moment at the beginning of our week together where I looked at them and I said, do you realize that the challenge I'm issuing to you this week with the Launchpad as we learn just 2 motifs is to quilt 1 quilt, right? To practice the meander confidently enough to just finish 1 quilt. And that if each of you guys did that challenge, we would bring 2,800 quilts into the world this week. 2,800 people could be warm and snuggled by a quilt made by someone they love by the end of the week, right? Imagine what we can do over the next 12 weeks together. That's a lot of love and light that we're putting out into the world in the midst of a really hard time, all right? Yes, Roberta, the course book is a download, and that's a really great thing because there's a lot of pages where you can trace the motifs, and being able to print the pages over and over again allows you to practice as many times as you need to. All right, so if you're excited about Free Motion Quilting Academy, you can jump in right now. Enrollment is open from now until next Saturday at stringandstory.com/yes. But it's very important that you know that this $175 US is the early bird tuition. Full tuition is $197. And on Monday, we're going to switch over to full tuition. And I want you guys to get the best deal on this. This is, 1 quilt top worth of fabric. This is 1 quilt to the long armor, right? And I want you to imagine how many gorgeous quilts, maybe the tops are sitting in your sewing room right now. I want to set you free from quilt guilt and show you that you can quilt them yourselves, okay? Now, some of you guys still have questions. You still have concerns, right? So let's go through some of these. I created my own free motion quilting sauce, just like I taught you today, except I bumbled along a lot more than you did. Like I told you, I did a lot of Googling. It was a lot of trial and error. But guys, I want you to learn from the mistakes that I've made. I want you to have this plan system to take it step by step. And if you're on the fence about joining Free Motion Quilting Academy, let's take a look at some of the common objections that I get every single time this course opens for enrollment. All right. Objection 1, you took the class, right? It didn't stick. You went to the quilt shop. You were there for 3 or 6 hours. You paid bukus of dollars at a quilt show to take a class with a very famous person, and you got home and you couldn't do it. I know. That's because there's a couple of flaws with in-person free motion quilting classes. Now, they're fun. I'm all for them. It is great. I love it when I have the opportunity to be in person with my rock stars. But here's the problem. I know that if you get home and still can't finish your own quilts, you feel like you lost money, right? And I want you to understand the beautiful investment with Free Motion Quilting Academy. You get to be in your own sewing space. No one is looking over your shoulder, making you feel nervous. If you completely flub it the first time, no one but you ever has to know. All right. And by the way, you probably will flub it the first time because this is a whole new skill, right? We didn't learn to write our alphabet the very first time we tried. We're not necessarily going to get our free motion quilting right the first time we try either, right? You're going to be working on your own machine. This is so key because so often when we take classes at a quilt shop, our quilt shops may also be dealers and we're going to be working on their machines, right? And I want you to be on your machine so you learn how to adjust your own tension. Honey, mommy's teaching right now. I will be there in a few minutes. No, Jem, I'm teaching. I'll be there in a few minutes. Jem, my 5-year-old is literally talking under the door, guys. Jem, I love you. I will talk to you later. No, Jem. Okay. I'm glad that you ordered lizards. Apparently the puppy chewed up some toys. I'm so sorry, guys. Anyway, I want you to understand you're going to be on your own machine, setting your own tension. And that's huge because that's one of the biggest challenges with free motion quilting is, let me tell them. My sweet husband to come get the children, please, so that we can have our moment. I want you to be on your machine so that you can get things adjusted to be able to quilt at home comfortably, right? It's so frustrating when maybe you are at the shop or at the class and it works there and you get home and you're like, I spent all that money and a whole Saturday and I still can't do this. I still can't finish my own quilts, right? I understand that it feels easier to bet on a sure thing of sending it to the long arm, but here's the thing. I want you to be your own sure thing. All right. In 2020, you get to be your own quilt hero. All right. I love long armers. I have a long arm. I do some long arming for others very rarely because please remember how extra I am about my quilting. But I want you to be your own quilt hero this year. All right. We all need that sense of accomplishment and joy. Maybe you were never the artistic one, right? Maybe you're like, Holly-Ann, I cannot draw a stick figure. I buy my quilts as kits. This is not going to work. It will. Do you know how I know? Because you're not the first person to tell me that. All right. I have had dozens and dozens and dozens of rock stars come into this class going, there is no way. And some of them you've seen in the examples I've shown you, and you've seen how beautiful their work has turned out. All right. Please remember what I said just a minute ago. Life happens, Roberta. I love your heart around that. Cats, kids, dogs. Thank heavens. I think I might have remembered to lock the door so they can't actually get in here. Otherwise, he might just run in. Who knows? Please remember what I said a few minutes ago about free motion quilting being like handwriting, right? This is a learned skill. When we were 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, right? We were all given lined paper with shapes to trace. We're learning how to make a shape inside a particular space. Free motion quilting is exactly the same way. This is why I've made a workbook for you full of traceable pages, because you're learning how to make a shape inside a particular space, your quilt, your piecing, etc., right? Just like with your handwriting, that once you mastered making the shape a particular way in the particular space, your handwriting took on its own flavor. Your free motion quilting will do the same thing, all right? Never mind the fact that you find yourself daydreaming about swirls and feathers, that you're perfectly capable of writing your own name. You're convinced that you can't, because you can't draw stick people, you cannot do free motion quilting. This is your inner critic talking. All right, let's keep going. Yes, Colleen, dozen quilt tops ready. You need some new skills and confidence. That's going to be a dozen quilts before you know it, babe. I'm so excited. Objection 3, you are very busy. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and yet somehow we are all still very busy. Technology is a blessing and a curse, right? I get that. You may be an essential worker. You may be working from home. You may be freshly homeschooling your kids. You may be keeping your grandkids, all the things. Remember what I told you a few minutes ago, that you have lifetime access to Free Motion Quilting Academy. That's because life happens. Life just happened here, right? Knock, 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 mommy. It's very quick, right? And we get distracted and we don't necessarily get to spend the time that we want to. That's why you have lifetime access. It's a 12-week course, but I have so many rock stars who maybe joined last fall that they graduated this summer, right? Or they joined last fall and they're going to graduate with you in December because life happened. A freaking pandemic happened, okay? You get to move at your own pace, but here's the thing. You will never learn free motion quilting if you do not get started. All right? Baby steps add up. Practice makes progress, even little bits of practice. Remember what I taught you, that we practice on paper. Do you know how portable paper is? Right? Hubby says, honey, can you come out of your sewing room and come watch a movie with me? Yes, let me grab my doodle pad because I'm going to practice my free motion quilting while we are watching Casablanca, right? I don't know why that was the first movie I thought of. Probably because it's one of my parents' favorite. Yes. Can you see a preview of the 30 motifs? So you've seen 10 of them. I don't have a good image with all 30, but we cover a lot of feathers, different types of feathers, 2 different types of graffiti quilting, lots of fill designs, border motifs. This is a comprehensive experience, y'all. Yes. And cats wanting to be part of your class. Oh my gosh, Roberta, my cats, I can't let them in here because they'll just like walk and they'll just sit here with their tail. It's unbelievable. Traceables. Yes, exactly. Objection 4, your machine will definitely not be up to the task. I started free motion quilting on a Kenmore that was about this big, right? And if you guys have been in the free motion quilting launchpad with me this week, then you have seen my Singer, right? I have a Singer Quantum Stylus 9960. This is a machine you order on Amazon. It is an off-the-shelf, very basic machine. Okay, now my main machine now sitting right here, it's a big old Juki industrial machine, right? Because this is like what I do. I did invest in a bigger machine, but I used and quilted on and taught on for years my little Singer, and I still pull it out when Free Motion Quilting Academy is enrolling because I want you to see what's possible on a very basic machine. All right, my students work on everything from featherweights to treadles to 1970s Kenmores to the brand new Bernina, right? We cover all of it. I've got students on domestic machines, mid arms, long arms. This machine or this course covers it all. And because I quilt on multiple machines, I'm very equipped to answer all your questions, right? And chances are there is someone already in the Free Motion Quilting Academy working on the same machine you are. So you'll have a buddy that you guys can pass tips back and forth, help each other out, right? It's okay if your throat space is small. I have quilted up to double-sized bed quilts with a 5.5-inch throat space. It takes a lot of pressure. It takes a lot of patience and elbow grease, but it is very possible and it can look very cool. You have a new long arm. Yes, Janice, absolutely. I really hope I get a new long arm here soon. That would be very exciting. I'm on quite an old long arm, but yes, I use my long arm and I am very equipped to answer questions. And I have lots of students who are going to be on the long arm. I actually have a number of students in this cohort right now who've already said, I'm going to do this on my long arm. Absolutely brilliant. So let's get real. These excuses I've shared with you, I already snapped about it. These are excuses from your inner critic. We all have a mean girl in our heads. That's facts, right? And she likes to get all kinds of spicy when we want to learn something new, when we want to grow, right? I want you to, you may not be able to remember doing this yourself, but you maybe remember watching your kids or grandkids when kids are learning to walk, right? If they got up and tried to take a step and fell over and they had a mean girl in their head, then they would never do it again, right? But little kids, they don't have that mean girl in their head yet, right? And they keep trying and they keep practicing. And I want you to think about this is the same opportunity, right? Let yourself be like a kid and enjoy the process, right? Kids love pushing their limits, right? Jim is really into headstands right now. My 5-year-old, I don't know why. This is like his thing, that when he's watching TV, he's like in a headstand on the couch. And he has recently discovered there is such a thing as a handstand. Kid is working on it, right? He's working on it. Kids love pushing themselves and pushing their limits. If there's ever an opportunity to reconnect with our inner child, not to sound like very therapist-y about it, right? But 2020, yes, find some inner joy, find some resilience way down deep that inner mean girl has tried to squish. This is the time. Anna, I love it. Anna says she has the same singer. Anna, it is a great machine. I have two because I love it. Yep. So go back to that free motion quilting dream, right? Whether it's your 8-year-old self dreaming of living in a castle on the playground, take that energy and bring it to this free motion quilting dream. We said at the beginning that we are trading fear for anticipation to make this dream come true. And I really, really, really want that for you. Renee, happy saucy me, just slapped mean girl to the curb and signed up for the academy. Yes, queen. Take a bolt of fabric, hit mean girl over the head and put her in the trunk of the car. She is not directing this road trip. Nope. All right. So stringandstory.com/yes is how you jump into the academy. This is what it's going to look like. All right. I'm going to walk you through so that you know you're on the right pages. Okay. When you click through, you're going to go to an information page. And that page is going to have all the details that I've been telling you about Free Motion Quilting Academy. That's because I want you to make an informed decision about this course being right for you, right? So you can read all the nitty-gritty details, all about the modules. You'll get an overview of many of the motifs, kind of in written form. And then you'll click one of the orange buttons that says sign up. And this is the page you're going to come to. You'll put in these details for me, and then you will have the option to join the guild. The guild is my membership experience where I teach intermediate to advanced free motion quilting techniques. This is for a couple of people. If you are here and you are already a beginner free motion quilt, maybe you're a confident beginner instead of a nervous beginner. You've got a couple motifs under your belt and you're like a racehorse coming out of the gate that you want to learn all the things. And you've already kind of proven to yourself that you're capable of learning and you're less nervous about that and more about just, I want to know all of it, then the guild is for you. All right. The guild is also for you if you know you have lots of time on your hands this fall and you want to make sure that you get all the free motion quilting education. All right. But this is extra. You do not need to join the guild to get the 30 motifs I've been teaching you about, to get your downloadable workbook, to be in the Facebook group. This is an extra thing for those of you who know that you don't want to just go from here to here as a free motion quilter. You want to go from here to here, right? Yes, you can decide to join the guild later. So if you change your mind and you want to join the guild while Free Motion Quilting Academy is still enrolling, then you can simply send me an email, right? I will also open up the guild for new membership during the time of Free Motion Quilting Academy graduation in early December. So if you want to go through the academy first and join me for the guild in December, you absolutely can do that. Brilliant. Great question. From there, confetti, cue the confetti. You are in the Free Motion Quilting Academy. Welcome, Rockstar. I'm so excited. And from here, you will pop over to your inbox and you will have an email from String and Story Learning Site with your login information. You will go to log into the course. And when you log in, you will see your course library with the Free Motion Quilting Academy listed. If you joined the guild, Colleen is in. Welcome, Colleen. If you join the guild as well, you will also see the guild list. And now let me tell you guys, all right. New student orientation for Free Motion Quilting Academy starts on August 31st, and we'll get really going in earnest on Labor Day, first week of September. Okay. But again, if you know you have time on your hands, you know you want all the things. And, you know, if you want to learn about machine embroidery, because we have a special thing coming up in the guild about machine embroidery. If you join the guild, there's already an enormous library of information and videos and education in there. Okay. Quilting plans, thread painting. We've started talking about embroidery and applique. All right. So if those are things that appeal to you and you want to have more videos to watch, again, that's where the guild would be the right option for you. For Free Motion Quilting Academy, when you open it up, you're going to see your introduction and orientation because I'm going to drip things out to you. Again, remember, we've talked at the top about the feeling of overwhelm when it comes to learning about free motion quilting. And I always want to remove overwhelm from you and replace it with anticipation. So I drip out Free Motion Quilting Academy over the next 12 weeks, giving you a few motifs at a time so you know exactly what you need to be practicing and exactly how to build those skills on each other. Yes, yes, you will. And if you sign up for the guild later, you will have access to older guild videos. It is a doozy of a library happening in there. It's really exciting. Yep. So like I said, to join Free Motion Quilting Academy, it is one early bird tuition payment of $175 US. You can go to stringandstory.com/yes to jump in. And guys, please remember that everything I taught you, you can start practicing right now. Some of you might be here and you're like, I can't swing that right now, but I want to do it later. The Academy will open up again in January. So I want you to take what I taught you at the beginning of our masterclass about quilting plans and let that marinate in your head in the coming months and begin to practice drawing quilting plans, maybe even practice playing around on your machine in anticipation of the next cohort. But for many of you, I really want you to think about, this is one trip to the fabric shop. This is one quilt to the long armor. And here in the midst of a pandemic, isn't this the time to make an investment in the desire to learn something new, to make an investment in growing our skills, to make an investment in finishing our quilts? Right? This is an investment not only in you and your mental health, right? And your emotional well-being and your creative health to further this hobby and this passion in your life. It's also an investment for the people that you love, right? That your kids are going to get more quilts from you, right? And if you live across the country from your kiddos and you can't see them right now, what better way to send some love than to finish some quilts for them and send them over? Right? What a precious investment and a precious, precious gift. Julie signed up. Welcome, Rockstar. I'm so glad to have you. So again, stringandstory.com/yes. Now, before we wrap up, first of all, if you still have questions about the Academy or still have questions about the quilting plan secret sauce that I taught you, please be dropping those in the comments so that Kate can send them to me so I can get them answered. But in the meanwhile, I want to share with you just two more rock stars. Sue Allen shared, I loved all the motifs I learned for free motion quilting and will put them to good use on my long arm as well. Thank you, Holly Ann, for all your time and energy with all you do for us. Laura says, I loved being able to see up close the quilting from Holly Ann. The live Q&A sessions were great and the Facebook community was both positive and informative. So a little bit more information. Lisa is signing up. Anna is signing up. Jill is in. Welcome, rock stars. So a couple last details I want to make sure you know. The videos inside Free Motion Quilting Academy are pre-recorded. They're shorter. They're usually like 5 to 10 minutes long, and they're underneath my needle so you can really see what I'm doing. All right. Then our Q&A sessions are face to camera where I'm answering questions you have. We do those weekly because I never want you to feel stuck. And if you feel stuck in between Q&A sessions, you just jump into that Facebook group, send up a flare, and either I or one of your other rock stars will come help you. This is a virtual course, right? So you can learn at home, but it is still a highly supportive course. We've got multiple countries represented. Like I said, we've already got over 150 rock stars joining us. And I want to make sure you're in too, so that we can finish 2020 with joy, with community, with finished quilts. 2020 has been a doozy, but it is also going to be the year that you become a free motion quilting rock star. All right. Julie said, just bought a new sewing and embroidery machine. She is ready to learn about both. I love it. All right, let me exit out of here. I want to be face to camera with you guys. How do I stop my sharing? There we go. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me. Amy, this is a brilliant question. Yes, Sheila, there's going to be a replay. Amy says, will the lessons on tension, etc., be repeated in the Academy? Yes. And full disclosure, Amy, the tension videos inside the Academy are more concise than our time together. Right? So you kind of get the best of both worlds by having done Launchpad, but then you'll get a little bit more of a focused tutorial inside of the Academy as well. Yay, you're jumping in. I love it. Roberta, I like this attitude. You know, he's got his hobby. I got my hobby. Yes, I love it. Brilliant, brilliant. All right. When you talk about a hopping foot, is that the same as a spring action foot? Let me show you. This is a metal one. My plastic one is currently on my machine. So here's a hopping foot. Great question. See, it hops, it springs. Yep. This can be metal or this can be plastic. Oh, and my other foot is on this machine, unfortunately. If you're on a domestic machine or a long arm, you're most likely going to have a ruler foot, right? So it's going to be metal, have a metal loop around the bottom. Absolutely brilliant. Susie, I'm so glad that you jumped in. Splendid. Kate, have I missed any questions? I'm so excited that you guys spent this time together with me this morning. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all my brand new rock stars. I'm so thrilled that you're going to be joining. Listen, you've decided to reclaim the back half of 2020 and say, with all this hard stuff, I'm going to make an investment in something that I love. And I'm going to make an investment in making quilts for the people that I love. You're going to be making an investment in your skills, in your relationships. This is so beautiful. I'm so excited for each of you guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited for the quilting dream that you've dreamed. I'm excited for the quilts you're going to finish, for the quilting plans you're going to make. This is absolutely magnificent. Big love, everyone. I will, by the way, as a sidebar, Kate, will you drop a link to the Quilting Rockstars in the comments here? It's facebook.com/quilting rockstars. This is my free Facebook community group. I'm going to be live doing social hours. So I'll be hanging out and quilting and chatting tonight. And if you're not in that group yet, I want to make sure you come and join me there as well. So guys, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you live tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern inside the Rockstars for some chatter. And hopefully I'll be welcoming even more of you guys into the Free Motion Quilting Academy during our time together tonight. Thanks so much for being here. Have a fabulous Saturday.